Budongo, Karamoja, Southwest, and others supplied. A total cumulative of 1,922 kilometers forest reserve boundaries were also resurveyed and marked with concrete pillars in all the 17 management centers. The list has been attached in the detailed report. Restore encroached and degraded forests in order to increase forest cover. Restoration was carried out in the Mabira and Bajo Central Forest Reserves in the lake shores. 39.3 hectares of these central forest reserves were done. 30 hectares of this forest in Sango Bay was also restored. Demarcate all wetlands as a commitment, riverbanks and lake shores with pillars, and gazette them with an estimated boundary length of 50,000 kilometers out of the total of 144,000 boundary countrywide. A total of 1,830.3 kilometers of wetland boundary has been demarcated with pillars and live markers. The list has been attached. Restore encroached and degraded wetlands, riverbanks, and lake shores estimated at 4,942 out of the current 9,888. In this regard, we will, as a commitment that was given, restore encroached and degraded section of wetlands, riverbanks, and lakes estimated at 4,942 out of the current 9,088. A total of 3,007 hectares of Nyamirembe wetland in Bushenyi district, 1,010 hectares of Rabara wetland in Kisoro district were restored. Restoration was achieved as follows. 100 hectares in Mayanja was restored in Mitiana, and 38 hectares of Lake Wamala wetland in Mitiana district was also restored. 700 hectares of Rufa wetland in Tungamo, 600 hectares in Ruhorobero wetland in Shema was also restored. Commitment: implement wetland management plans with community livelihood. Options covering 15,705 of sustainably managed wetlands with at least 1,500 livelihood enhancement wetland enterprises, as we have done in Chibuku and Palisa, where the people are earning much more from fish ponds than from rice they were growing in wetlands. The area under wetland management plans increased from 6,500 kilometers to 6,555.9 kilometers in 2023. Undertake a special restoration program for Kabale and Teso wetland through return of the titles issued before 1995. A special restoration program for Kabale and Teso wetland is yet to be developed. However, regarding the presidential directive on restoration of degraded wetlands in Kigezi sub-region and Ngora district, Ministry of Water has so far acquired a list of 81 wetland titles surrendered from Kigezi, acquired cadastral information on surrendered titles from Ministry of Lands, verified the titles registry information to check compliance with the relevant laws, conducted spot site verification of voluntary surrendered titles to ascertain location of the plots relative to the wetlands in Kigezi, mapped all unsurrendered titles on the wetland in Kigezi, sorted and assessed the ecological status of the wetlands in Kigezi, and also held consultative and sensitization workshops with technical and political leaders in the region. MWE awaits consideration of all information compiled so far and guidance by the technical people. Cancel any title given out on a wetland. To date, there are no new certificates of titles that have been cancelled in the period of 2021-2024, except 330 certificates of land titles erroneously issued by wetland were cancelled in 2019. Increase the environmental protection police force manpower from the current 186 to 350. In 2022, 69 wetland encroachers were arrested, 49 wetland encroachers cases reported, 40 compliance agreements signed, 256 improvement notices issued, 35 trucks impounded for dumping in wetland, and over 13 million shillings collected in fines. In 2023, 35 encroachers were arrested, 33 encroachers cases reported to police, 24 compliance agreements signed, 12 improvement notices issued, 18 trucks impounded, 156.5 million shillings collected in fines and deposited with the environmental fund. Use science-led approach to put municipal organic solid waste to better cost-effective use. NEMA has developed a user manual for separation of this organic component of waste streams and supported by KCCA. Periodically monitor, benchmark environmental indicators for cities. For example, install air, water quality, pollution monitoring. NEMA has developed air quality regulations, i.e. National Environmental Air Quality Standards regulations, and these are being enforced. Revamp and equip existing weather stations, as well as establish new ones in newly created districts. Government has increased the coverage of districts with at least an automatic weather station from 64% in 2021 to 67%. 75 automatic weather stations have also been operated and maintained, and the areas and locations are attached in the main document. Invest in developing the climate ICT infrastructure, including high performance computing data analytical tools and networks. Government has improved access to meteorological information through the following channels that include establishment of a program called Popularization of Meteorology in Schools, whose role is to educate school-going children on matters of weather, climate, and climate change. Challenges faced in implementation of the commitments. 1, delayed approvals by the third parties. Delayed approvals by the third development partners in form of securing or no objection is one of the major challenges that has affected timely delivery of these projects. 2, climate change effects. The impact of climate change adversely affects our weather, our water supply, especially dry spells and floods, which disrupt water products on our plants across the different parts of the country. Due to the community resistance and funding constraints, implementation of Chaya Dam in Gomba district, as I mentioned, has been set aside. Prolonged process of land acquisition and compensation of the project affected persons, those are the PAPs, delayed commencement of some of the projects. Limited financial resources that do not match the growing population, encroachment pressure, and need to restore the dramatic wetland and forests is also provide alternative livelihood option to the user communities. Increased encroachment, especially from the development and unsustainable agriculture, which has been worsened by uncoordinated government efforts, conflicting institution mandates, policies, laws with regard to management and use of environmental resources. Weak enforcement that is coupled with weak fines and sentences by court that are not punitive enough to deter further encroachment and degradation. Local government are incapacitated in terms of staffing, capacity, and funding for environment-related operations. Issuance of illegal land titles on forests and wetlands, impunity and court injunctions, and these result in litigation and related costs of government associated with the title cancellation, restoration, and demarcation of wetlands and forests. Slow intake of wetland and forest alternative options, which is a result of mindset and limited data coupled with limited funding and lack of resources to promote economically viable alternative uses of environment. High rate of deforestation on private lands and central forest reserves, encroachment. This high rate of deforestation on private lands, which is 0.8% per year across the country. Inadequate forest and wetland management infrastructure and equipment, for example, forest roads, forest management stations are still a challenge and continue to limit effective and efficient management in all central forest reserves and wetlands. Unreliable weather patterns and wildfires. Due to the effects of climate change, unreliable weather patterns make it difficult to plan for formal rain seasons, tree planting, and this made it more expensive in terms of replacement of dead trees and protection of other woodland lands from fires. Recommendations: strengthening partnership with various MDAs and development partners through strategic stakeholder engagement. Implementation of climate change resilience infrastructure in various national water and sewage corporation towns through mixed technology options and decentralized water supply and sanitation systems. NEMA has launched Environment Protection Force and plans to recruit 150 officers. So far, 40 officers have been recruited. EPF regulations have also been gazetted. These will regulate the EPF activities. NEMA is also developing express penalty, administrative fines and coercive fines requisitions, harmonize institutional mandates, and streamline management of forests and wetlands across all levels, hence limiting the government development in wetlands. Improve law enforcement and awareness, improve environment law enforcement and governance through professional investigation and prosecution. Open and mark all central reserves boundaries with concrete pillars, digitize and share the shape of files of central reserves with Ministry of Lands, Housing and Urban Development to upload on the Land Management Information System. NFA will proactively continue to develop partnerships with various stakeholders, security and law enforcement agencies, the district local governments, development partners, and corporate organizations to address the high deforestation rate and improve forest conservation, livelihood. This will be done through collaborative forest management, corporate forest planting, through MOUs, game ranching, and others. NFA will innovate and adopt low-cost fire management strategies like timely forest plantation, tending, and maintenance, early burning, and working closely with private tree farmers and forest adjacent communities to manage fire during dry seasons. Invest in a new fleet and build and renovate buildings. In order to improve efficiency, NFA needs to make distinct investment in capital assets of fleet, regional management offices, and accommodations, regional staff. Strengthening forest law enforcement and governing through establishment of armed wing of forest rangers and professional investigators and prosecutors of environmental and forestry crimes. This should include strengthening stakeholder partnership for forest conservation and livelihood improvement. Thank you.
Please, let's put our hands together for this very, very lengthy, insightful, but also very, very articulate. The representative of the minister and your team want to thank you for the presentation. This sector is quite big, and as you can see, its contribution cuts across 3 thematic areas, which are out of the 5 that were put in the manifesto. So it's quite a huge sector and touching on key aspects of life of our people. So, PS, I want to now move to the next session, which is now giving observations by the monitoring unit. First of all, we want to congratulate you for all the efforts that have been put in, and from the achievements that have been recorded here, we can see the sector is on the right track, and we pray that given support by the close of this political term, there is all the reasons for Ugandans to smile, and it will give a mileage to our political leaders, at least to show the citizens that the contract was executed. So we want to congratulate you, and we want to identify with you the progress. And like I say, we happen to move across the country, and most of these investments, as being highlighted here, do exist. They are there. You know, in the past days, sometimes people would come here and tell people we have done this and we have done that when they don't exist. But some of us who have been there, we have been able to see that these projects are existing. Some are completed, some are works ongoing, some need extra funding to be completed, but they do exist. They are not ghosts. So viewers, wherever you are, that is one. 2, I also want to thank you for your presentation, for being detailed, because I believe many of you who are following, you can see that the ministry has been able to say, this is what we are doing, and we are doing it here. So now that gives you an opportunity, instead of arguing for the sake of arguing, you can now challenge us as government or the party and say, no, they said in Dokoro, this is ABCD, but it doesn't exist. Because for us, we have come out and said, in Dokoro, this was done. I think this proactive nature of approach to things may also clear this common talk of saying government has not done anything. So I want to thank the ministry. The sector is big, the investments are big, both in the areas of environment and water, and it has come out to give detailed information, even where these investments exist. So our partners, we will avail you this copy, the soft copy, so that you also go and start building this, and for you who are investigative journalists, you can go ahead and validate the information that we have given you here. But I also appeal to our leaders, and more especially our frontline officers, the RDCs, wherever you are. Please mobilize our other local leaders there, the local governments, and show and tell the citizens that these projects are in existence in those local authorities. You have seen the extension of water, both in the rural and urban areas, has has been stepped up. We want to congratulate those efforts. That means now many of our citizens are able to access clean and safe water. In regard to water for production, we want to salute the initiatives that have been rolled out in the different investments, the dams in the water-stressed areas, the solar irrigation schemes and other micro-irrigation schemes across the country. The other day we had the Minister of Agriculture, and they had also assured us how they are trying to move in a serious way on how we can stop relying on rain-fed agriculture. Now that you are the people in charge of water resources, I think it is important that the efforts are combined. You are able to move the waters to the farms, and then agriculture can begin there to see how the water is translated into productive use by improving the yields and supporting the different agricultural practices. So, however, as you can see, government is also coming out strongly on making sure that we commercialize agriculture. We have seen the PDM, yesterday we had a presentation from Minister of Local Government, and one of the two key pillars is about agriculture, because this is where most of our citizens are engaged, but also the financial inclusion to support them to be able to produce, to support productivity, but also production. So the further extension of water up to the last mile of the village. And I think this is one of the policy commitments we have, that each village should be able to access safe and clean water. This water may not necessarily be for consumption, but it can also support agriculture production, which is all about the welfare of our people. And through that, we can be able to improve the economy and then also support the other areas that are associated with that growth. The cattle corridors, the stretched areas, I don't think we have been able to serve them to the levels to which the water is needed. So, Honorable Minister, we need to do more. The connectivity of water and extension to business parks is still a challenge. Karamoja, Jinja, I have seen Kapek, I think you have done some work, but when we last visited, they still had this challenge, and Mbari. So you see, we are trying to bring these industrial parks to attract investments, which can also support us on the journey of solving the issue of employment. Solving the issue of unemployment and creating wealth. When we are solving unemployment, we are saying people should work and earn something for their pockets. Urban solid and liquid waste management is still a challenge. I think we have moved very well on provision of water in these urban areas, and as you are aware, the country has experienced a huge urban growth in the recent past because of the different economic growth. The roads have opened up the country, electricity has moved, and this has meant that slowly but surely we are experiencing rural-urban migration, which now cause the emergence of new rural growth centers and other urban centers. Urban centers are also expanding into much bigger urban centers. We have created cities, but all this means that with this population expansion, apart from providing it with the water for safe drinking, but you also know that we need to manage waste. And I think the provision of the safe water vis-a-vis waste management is not moving at the same pace. So it's also an area that we need to look at and make sure that that area is not left behind, and then we end up with a health disaster. Degradation of our natural resources is still a challenge. I know there are, you see, there is still this competing interest of development and environment sustainability. So we still witness degradation of our natural resources, especially wetlands. And I think we have seen efforts now, NEMA of late trying to bite, which is, I think, a good effort in the right direction. And from the statistics we have been given, we don't know whether these are representative of the situation in the country. But we need to see NEMA getting more serious and maybe have an integrated approach. Also, other stakeholders who are, like the Ministry of Lands, issuing land titles in areas which are wetlands, so that you work in harmony and you agree and have a common position on some of these areas. So we need a special restoration program for Kabare and Teso wetlands, which are part of Usoga, which have been greatly encroached due to rice growing and farmlands in the parts of the west. The country is still suffering losses in persons and property due to climate change. We need to intensify our measures towards climate adaptation, especially in the communities that are vulnerable. Even in the recent past, I think we have seen more landslides hitting our people in the Ergon area. River Nyamamba from time to time is becoming indisciplined. So we need to look at climate smart approaches that can keep our country and the citizens at peace with the climate changes. There is also need to work towards accurate and reliable weather forecasting to support our agricultural sector. You know, sometimes we get meteorology readings which are contrary to the real weather situations on the ground. They will tell you this is a dry season, then all of a sudden you see rain is flowing, then they tell you this is a heavy rain season, then we are hit by a dry spell. So I think this is an area we need to improve, either through research or investment through acquisition of modern forecast technologies that can be able to tell us, so that our farmers are prepared and can know when to go and not when to go. Air and water pollution are still evident in our societies and towns. We need a strong, robust awareness campaign to reverse some of these growing trends. We need to protect our forests from encroachment and work towards improving the forest cover amidst growing human activity. I think apart from a water scheme, which is, I think is in Rukunjiri, when appears there is a problem there. I don't know what is the problem. I think it has been on for a while. Maybe you are aware. I think the people from that side need to be assured on the status. There is some water scheme which is going on there and has had issues, I think, for a while. I've just forgotten the name, but maybe you are conversant with the same. So apart from that, those are the observations we want to share with you as the ministry. We now want to invite the audience to join us in this conversation through observations, questions, and appreciations if they are there. So let's move.
Thank you so much. My name is Serena Nakuja. I work with NSC. I would like to thank the presenter for the wonderful presentation. I request that he once again tells us his names. The observation that I saw is about the issue of boreholes. While growing up, I used to fetch water at the borehole, but in his presentation, he didn't mention about construction of boreholes. Should we say the country is filled with tapped water in all the villages? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. The name is the Minister for Water and Environment, Honorable Cheptoris. So, yes, the presentation is from Honorable Minister. So, don't create other issues here. Yeah. So, go ahead.
Thank you so much, PS and you too, for the good presentations. I'm called Mary Shapa from BBC. I have a few concerns. One, what is limiting people to make exercise for law enforcement officers in your views? Because this has become a common pattern in every presentation that you do. Could it be the funds or people don't apply? Then another one regards the evictions. You continue evicting commoners from the wetlands, but we continue also seeing big industries coming up in the wetlands. Where is the problem? Maybe you need to explain to us that. Yet you highlighted that you no longer give out land titles in the wetlands. Then another concern regards the Matongo compensations for those people that were living in the Matongo land, that is around Semri Forest. How far have you gone with the compensations of those people who are evicted from Semri National Forest? Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. I think it would also be good if you came with specific examples and say in this wetland of here, there is a factory coming up, and like they came and said we are doing boreholes in these areas, we are doing this in these areas, so that you make the conversation real. You know, when you say we see industries coming up somewhere, this is general. Maybe the area looks wetland to your eyes, but in the eyes of the ministry, it is a dry land. So if you came out and said, in this very wetland here, we have a case of an industry coming up, this is not to intimidate you. This is just to make, you know, your point more richer. So that, yes, if you have a specific one, you can raise your point.
When I get Ginger Road, I see almost a lot of numbers taken up by industries.
Okay, but that's a gazetted industry area.
Then maybe in regards to that, recently, a few months ago, we had evictions, people who are going to be evicted from the wetlands, maybe for the case of this around more. This side of what I stay in Wakiso in Beche,
Yes.
and I have a few neighbors who are somehow part of the culprits of those who are going to be evicted. So
I hope you are not on the list. No, the minister will handle on, but it's okay. I think he has got your point. Yes?
Thank you. My name is George here from East African Lodge. Mine is about to valley dams across the country. History has shown us these valley dams are expensive, you spend a lot of money constructing these dams, yet dams are a problem. One, these dams, they don't take no time to fill up or get set. Secondly, women and girls are normally put to fight at these dams. And also, after filling up the dam, you have this evaporation, water disappears. And yet you have spent a lot of money. Can we have another technology? Maybe we can use this money to construct massive tanks on top of hills at every sub-county. And then we use gravity, with our solar energy, water to find people where they are, rather than having these dams, fire dams, or dams. You come, it's not there, it's there. So that's one of my concerns about the dams. Now, was my question and concern.
Okay. In the same spirit, do you have examples so that the
Yes,
you can be able to?
when you go to Zimbabwe and these other countries, you see very dams. People are using the same water, animals are using the same water, and water is dirty, disappearing. I've seen if you go to Karamoja, after Bramboli, you go to Nakapilipiliti. We have hills, have valleys, but water disappears. No. I've seen some of them in my memories across the country.
Okay. Okay. I think that will be handled. Yes. Switch off.
Well, thank you. My name is John William Mugunda from BTN Television. Mine relates to the issue of wetlands. Maybe if the minister can guide us to the activities that are allowed in wetlands. Maybe we can fact check and vote accurately. Maybe if you can tell us whether the factory is allowed and constructing a home is not allowed. We need guidance on that. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much. My name is Jenny Ali. I work with Voice of India. Honorable Minister, my concern is all about air pollution in Uganda, particularly in Kampala. In Kampala, when we look at the vehicles, it's a very big problem. For the case of industries, when you go in Kawempe and the other parts of Kampala, pollution now is a problem, and how are we going to curb that challenge in Kampala and also in the entire Uganda? Thank you.
Okay. I thought the presence of cars is also a sign of development. So, so development is also the side effects of growth. Yes. Somebody. Yes.
Thank you so much. I'm Larasa Vera from UPC. I'd like to commend the ministry for the work they have done in Punjiri, but I also am requesting those people in Punjiri in the areas don't have access to water. So I'm requesting that you extend your services to people in the areas, but for the work you have done, you people have water. Thank you.
Very good. Are you offering yourself as the next candidate from Nigeria? Can see the advocacy is serious. Yes, go ahead.
My name is from South Media. I have three questions. We have seen a lot of inconsistencies in the figures during the national water, especially during this period. What causes this? Is this a normal practice? Are you having a problem with some of your machines? Is it a sign of incompetence before your engineers?
Just a minute. Inconsistencies in what?
In these figures, when it comes to computing these
figures of performance.
Yes.
Okay.
They keep running. Second,
Could you be specific and say you have given us figures in this area and our findings are contrary, so that they are able to deal with the issue as you bring it? Because when you say inconsistency, it's like saying everything they say is very incorrect or what?
When it comes to the bills payment, it's better to compare this month, the previous month, and then the other month, they don't tally. Figures are exactly.
So the issue here is bills. The billing system is inconsistent. Yes, that's what I wanted to know.
Second, we are aware that national water cannot traverse the entire country, in that some of you in the neighboring areas do not access water. When you go to Nansana, some mountainous areas, the penetration is not sufficient enough. This has forced the the public to adopt to digging water, underground water. But national water is still very negative about it and it's discouraging it. Why don't you work with these private players? At least you construct cheaper plants where you don't have sources but you partner with them and solve this problem once and for all. The final question goes to the shoulder work we are seeing, especially the roads which are undergoing construction. When you're heading to Bugolobi, especially where there are road constructions.
Are you talking about water or roads?
No, actually, they are pipes. Sometimes when it comes to rehabilitating or reconstruction, it takes a lot of time. They cut these pipes, they are left there, and they take months without settling them. It is an inconvenience. You find water flooded the entire road, it looks ugly. I don't know how you're going to work with it. I don't know whether you work with the road sector or you work in isolation. Thank you.
So what is looking ugly, the road or the pipes?
Actually, the entire area is over messed up.
Okay. Honorable PS, their hand. Yes? Are you the last?
Thank you, Honorable Minister. My name is Olivia, and I'm a worker with UBC. I have a few observations, Honorable Minister. Currently, as we speak, Avon region has been hit with landslides. Particularly now we are speaking about Bulambul District, and I happen to come from that area. Honorable Minister, we have never had a permanent maybe solutions for such mountainous areas. We only wait for events to happen and we start talking about it and taking also maybe relief, but that is not enough for us to lose our relatives. Then government comes in to say we are relocating people, we warned, and something is not adding up well. What is the permanent solution in your ministry, Honorable Minister? When we talk about River Nyamamba in Kasese, we have seen that river becoming very stubborn area. Maybe we are now talking about a Rigon region. And in a few weeks, maybe, God forbid, we might hear in another area like River Nyamamba. The battles which they have put, actually experts tell us when the water comes with all the force, it washes everything. What is the permanent solution for that river, Honorable Minister? And lastly, someone talked about the boreholes. We are, as a ministry, we have focused much on tap water and especially in the cities. But in the rural communities like where I come from in Bulambul and many other places, we do not see the tap water. We do not see boreholes being made and people still more mines, especially women and children looking for clean water. So most of the people do not have clean water. That is why they share the water with the animals. And in particular in the place areas like those mountainous areas, we have seen people using actually the river water as drinking water. Are we having also solutions for such people? Because when once a borehole is broken, it is never thought of to replace. What is happening? And the realize is about the grass. Now that we have had landslides in the mountainous areas, but this water is going down in the lowlands. We have now seen the grass. People are being displaced. Are we also getting the permanent solution in the ministry? Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. Maybe, Minister, as we move into this direction together, we could also publish a list of all the villages where this policy is working, all the villages which have been served with one safe and clean water source. And those which have not been served can also see that they are not yet served. But those where we may claim that it is not there and it is not there, we can also have a national validation to that effect. Yeah. Lastly.
Thank you. My name is Pastor Wilson from Mama TV. Looking at how floods have disturbed, especially people in Kampala metropolitan, and also how seasons have changed, which is affecting the farmers. Can the ministry thinking of getting water tanks to the people, farmers and residents at least subsidized prices? Because you see a lot of flood whenever it rains, and some people complain of costs of water being high. So can there be some subsidization for the tanks to the residents and also to the farmers? Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. I will now invite you, a representative of the minister, to come and make your responses. And like I observed, you are at liberty to invite some of your technical teams to also give supporting responses in the areas of their expertise.
Thank you, Director. Substantially, I'm the Permanent Secretary, Minister of Water and Environment. The name, Alfred Okotokidi, standing in for the Minister, okay? Somebody was asking about the name. Let me start with the question on the recruitment. I'll ask my colleagues also to come in and help with some of their areas of expertise. Recruitment of officers of the EPF, Environmental Protection Force. One of the biggest challenges we have in the management of the forests, the swamps, and lake shores and the river banks is certainly the small number of the environmental force. We have just about 163 for the entire country. And if you look the forests alone, we have more than 500 forests, central forest reserves in this country. And if you add up the swamps, then you can see for yourself that the number is simply not okay. We have put up the case as a ministry, and we have been given the go-ahead to do the recruitment, and the process has started. And this is being handled through the National Environment Management Authority. We expect within the next 2 to 3 years, we should have a strong force of about 3,000. And this number should be adequate to do the enforcement and policing across the country. But again, really, it is upon us as citizens not to wait for the enforcement people to know that this is wrong to do. The responsibility actually is with us. Each one of us in this country, we should be the force protecting the environment. Because without this environment, we cannot and will not exist in this country. Because our livelihood is agriculture driven. And if we become water stressed, it is a source of disaster. So it is our individual commitment that should show. And if I see my neighbor emptying a truck into a wetland, I should be able to say, hey, LC1, there's a problem here, let us go and address it. And if they do not, let us know. And then we come in and take the appropriate measures, because the number is so small that we cannot be everywhere right now. So we need the support of the population. UBC raised the issue of evictions of industries. Rightfully mentioned, Namamve is a gazetted industrial park. We have had evictions. For example, the one of Lubiji, and the eviction was done. Whether you were an individual or you were a company or you were a quoted industry, you were affected. There are regulated activities that are allowed in wetlands, and these are done using permits. And the wetland person is going to give us a list of allowed activities, but the permits are for specific purposes, and they also come with strict conditions in the environmental impact assessment. It is a must before you're allowed to use the wetland. Valley dams. I think the valley dams or valley tanks you're talking about are those ancient valley tanks. The valley tanks we are doing right now has specific provisions that stop siltation. And the valley tanks and the valley dams we build now has one place where we have the trough for animals to drink according to their sizes. So the goats are somewhere here, the cattle are here. It is segregated. But the protection area that stops siltation going into the tanks or the valley dams are also in place. And we also make sure that we do protection around these facilities, in addition to fencing. And we have embarked on making sure that we fence all these dams and valley tanks so that you restrict access. And this is a process which is actually ongoing. On the side of the hilly areas, yes, the hilly areas, when it comes to water supply, they are more difficult to reach. The low-lying areas are easier because you can use gravity or minimal pumping. But when you go up where nature allowed birds to survive and stay because they can fly, unfortunately our water does not fly. It has to be pumped. And the energy requirements in some of the places are actually so much, and we therefore go for alternative solutions where we cannot reach the very top of the hills. We go for alternative solutions. And I know we have done that in some parts of eastern Uganda, and we'll continue to come up with appropriate solutions for people who are living in those particular areas. I think the area of Rukunjiri you're talking about, we have a water treatment plant, and we have finished the treatment plant. The water has gone to Rukunjiri municipality. There is the neighboring, 2 sub-counties neighboring the water treatment plant, and we have the plan to actually go on the construction. I think the designs have been finalized. The funding allowing, we should be able to extend water to the 2 neighboring sub-countries for the Rukunjiri water treatment plant. The list of the villages are available, even on our website. I believe we publish it, but again, we are going to share them with you so that you see for yourselves and also validate. The issue of floods, especially in Kampala, quite a bit of it is also because of human activities. The drainage channels of this city are clogged with soil plastic waste, name it, because of the poor practices that we, the residents of the city, are engaged in. We have also not been very kind to the environment supporting the city. There has been encroachment. If you go to Lubiji, yes, there is encroachment. You go to Kansanka, there is encroachment. You go to Kigo, there is encroachment. And the ministry is going to make sure that all these encroachers are engaged, they leave voluntarily. Those who refuse to leave voluntarily, appropriate measures will be taken to make sure that they vacate these wetlands, because they cushion the flood, slow down the flow of water, but they also absorb and clean the runoffs, Whenever it rains, you just go to the channels and you see how much plastic is floating. How much plastic is floating. Solid waste management is a function of the respective urban centers, and we assist them, we regulate them. For the small towns, what we have decided to do is come up with fecal sludge treatment facilities. So like the one in Zaipi is taking care of about 5 or so districts with their small towns and trading centers in West Nile. We have just done the groundworking for one in Busukuma, which is going to take care of the Nansana and the site of Zirobwe, etc. Nalokolongo, there is another one, which is quite modern. And our Rukunjiri, we are also doing one, and also in Soroti site, I think, we are doing one. And we have plans to do more across the country so that the waste from the residences are managed effectively before the water which meets environmental qualities are discharged into the environment. Now, for the rural areas, the boreholes, yes. Boreholes are the primary means of delivery in the rural areas. Our strategy right now is to use the boreholes with very high hills, convert them into solar-powered system. And with that, we are able now to reach more villages and more people. Because from one borehole, you can make extensions of 2, 3, 4 kilometers. Therefore, it also promotes household connections. So the emphasis now is those ones that are meeting the criteria, we are converting them into solar and we change them into pipe system. But for some areas, that technology will still be used because it might be the only available or the best suited technology for that particular area. National water, I think Engineer Alex will come and handle, but the side of forestry and wetlands, again, I'll ask the two colleagues who are here and NEMA to provide the inputs. Chair, do they come here or they can talk from where they are? Okay.
Is it okay? Because these people are the ones who guide us. They come here.
They come up here. Okay. So let me start with Engineer Alex. After Engineer Alex, NEMA you come, wetlands, forestry, and you last. Water production last. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. PS, I'm standing in for MD National Water and Sewage Corporation. The question of bidding, when you talk about inconsistency in bidding, and really you are just being specific to which customer, is it a commercial customer, domestic, institutional, and what type of consistency you are talking about? Is it meter reading or the tariff category which was inconsistent? You are talking about figures not adding up. We have customer care, we have every branch near where you are staying, not even 200 meters. We have over 40 branches and 50 sub-branches to intensify and engage our customers to ensure that any complaint is timely and accurately addressed. And we have heavily invested in computer, innovations, technology, even prepaid metering for the urban informal settlements. So when you have any inconsistency, for example, if we have consumed 10 units and you think they have charged you 50, definitely we have a call center, you can call immediately or you can go to the branch. But we don't have such cases which we should even report here that there are a lot of inconsistencies. We need to be specific and focus the questions so that we can be able to help you. If you talk about 800,000 customers which are serving and you're only one person, how many people have complained? So I feel that we should come to the offices and we see how we can address any inconsistency. We also have a provision for adjustments. If we find that your bidding has an omission or error, it can be adjusted within the shortest time possible. The issue of Nasana, the hills, we have a project for upgrading, restructuring Kampala network, particular focus in northeastern and northwestern parts of Kampala. We are transferring water from Katosi, about 40 kilometers away from Namugongo, 45, and then we are going to construct a reservoir at Kanyanya Hill, about 10 million liters, and we are going to construct a tank at Kaburengwa Hill, especially to supply the high areas of Nansana up to Kachiri. All those areas which are now water stressed, as my PS has put it, you need a lot of energy to pump water to those specific focus areas which are disadvantaged. We are going to do a bulk transfer of a big pipe from Kanyanya Hill to Kaburengwa, a pipe of 700 millimeter, 600, and others of 500, and shall focus on Matuga up to Migade. We are focusing through Nabweru. We are going through up to Kachiri, targeting greater even areas of the Wakiso. So the contract was signed end of September. We have completed mobilization. We have paid advance. End of this month, the contractor should be mobilizing to start camps, and even materials procurement is ongoing. So give us 18 months, we should be able to have sorted out any shortages, what we call water stressed areas in Kampala. Katosi now we are producing about 80 million liters per day. We have capacity to double to 160 million liters per day. So the potential in Kampala, we are going to address it. And the pipes which are cut when you are doing road constructions, if you see from migration here on Old Port Bell up to Ruzira, passing Ugolobi, the infrastructure, common services like optics, electricity, water, stormwater drainage, it has been a challenge. The road was designed in the 1940s. We have not expanded it, and the physical planning part of it means before you do the drainage works, you should relocate services. And the services is not only water. The water you see is not only piped water. It includes storm water, especially when you go to Silver Springs area of Ruzira, Port Bell, Kitintari section. Any small 10 minutes of rain, all the water from Buya, Upper Naguru, that catchment area of, not Naguru, this side of Bugolobi, Mbuya Hill, Kiswa, it immediately powers down to be drained into the greater Nakivo catchment area. So all the water you see, it's not piped water. Provisionally, what we do, we put temporary pipes to stop water shortages when construction is going on. After construction is done, the road reserves have been marked and drainages are done, we restore the pipes. So we apologize for interruptions, but the nuisance you are seeing is not only piped water. Even the Bowsers, which spray water to avoid the dust pollution, is also very dangerous. People might mistake it to be a water leakage. So we should be able to expedite the locations to avoid losses. First of all, water is money. At the same time, to avoid the nuisance. And then stormwater, which is also being constructed, it compounds the problem. I think for national water, that's what I had. Yes, thank you.
Okay, Nema, you are going to tackle the pollution and those other issues of the wetlands. But again, the gentleman's question was that he expected this bill for this month, next month, and last month to be the same. It cannot, because it is based on your consumption. It's based on your consumption. What you should be looking at what rate am I being charged? That is the tariff. If the tariff is the same, then the other one is your consumption. And when you see a spike in your consumption, check around before your meters. You might have a serious leakage that is causing the trouble. Thank you. Okay, Vincent?
Thank you, PS, and thank you, Director. I'm going to answer the question on what activities are allowed in wetlands. I think it should be what activities are allowed in some wetlands, because there are wetlands where no activity is allowed at all. And those ones are called fully protected wetlands. And they are not allowed because of the functions which they perform. A wetland like Nachivubu, which actually filters all the waste from Kampala before water enters Lake Victoria, no activity should be allowed. I know journalists are going to ask, but there are some structures there. I think PS indicated sometime back in 1960s, Kampala wetlands were gazetted as industrial areas, including Nachivubu. Now, we have been trying to evict those people in Nachivubu, but when you go there, a person has a running lease. Now, you touch him, he runs to court. You get it, and it is very expensive. So, but the strategy we have now is that when the lease expires, we are working now with Ministry of Lands, it is not renewed. That is the strategy of managing those people. Now, I think PS indicated that even in the presentation that all wetlands have been gazetted. And if you look at this gazette, it has classified those wetlands. There are wetlands which are fully protected. And those are wetlands which provide water, like Director, Nyaruzinga wetland in Bushenyi is fully protected. Because you tamper with it, Bushenyi is not going to be there. I think some of us have been following in Barara, Ruizi. Ruizi was tampered with, and now people are crying, they are running for Ruizi, but people are the ones who have killed that water. We have wetlands like Navajuzi, people who pass via Masaka, that wetland which provide water. No activity should be allowed there. Then we have those wetlands which are partially protected. Now, even activities which are allowed are regulated. You cannot just wake up and start doing what you want. You must either follow guidelines or get a certificate. I think Engineer Alex is our example. They put that water treatment plant in Rubiji, and people have been using it as an example. Waste management, wetlands are supposed to do waste management. But even before putting that plant, they had to do what we call an environmental impact assessment. So they have a certificate which we are always monitoring. If they abuse it, that water treatment plant can be closed. I think my colleague from NEMA can justify. So what are some of those activities which are allowed and which are regulated? So when you are allowed, don't say this one is allowed, let me go and do the way I want. No, we shall arrest you. You must get guidance from our offices. One, grass harvesting. I think you have seen people harvesting grass, either for mulching or sometimes for their animals. Two, grazing. But even grazing, we have now developed guidelines for grazing in wetlands, because here you take in account the issue of carrying capacity. Otherwise, if you allow people to graze anyhow, someone will bring 10,000 cows in a small wetland and it will be degraded. So we also have guidelines for that. The issue of sand mining, we need sand. But the question has been, how are people mining this sand? I think when we were growing up, people used to use hose and what, but people have gone to commercial, people take excavators in these wetlands, and without even a certificate. Because if you are going to use a commercial sand mining, then you must get a certificate. We have clay mining. We need clay. Some of us roof our houses using tiles, and tiles are made out of clay. But even clay is regulated. If you see Kajansi, when they are mining that clay, they have a certificate. They get a certificate for mining. Then you have things like to do fish farming. Fish farming on a small scale, yes. But if you are going to do more than 5 ponds, then you must get a certificate. You know, people have been going in that I want to do fish ponds, they think it is just free. If you don't have a certificate, we shall also stop it. I think those are some of the key things. But if someone say constructing a house, that one don't even talk. That one is not even regulated, it's not even allowed. So what I've mentioned here is what is allowed. And if you go to the National Environment Act 2019, Cap 181, we have put an annex on those activities which you can be allowed to do, but following guidelines and regulations. Thank you, Director.
Before you leave the podium, just a point of information. We've seen
Use the mic.
recently
Use the mic so that you cannot benefit.
there were demonstrations of buildings in Lubiji this year, twice. And we've seen a petrol station up to date, it's still doing its work. But according to the list of the operated things which are supposed to be in the wetlands, you've not mentioned the petrol station. What is that petrol station doing there? Thanks.
Thank you. That petrol station is already condemned.
Switch off, please.
It is already condemned. If you go there, it is marked, and it is among the list of the infrastructure that is supposed to be demolished. But we have drawn a program with the investor. You consider the amount of money which he put. He's supposed to remove that petrol station. So it is not yet neglected. It is on the line of infrastructure to be removed. But then we have seen even along Lake Victoria, some people are putting their mansions and mansions. Wetlands along Lake Victoria are fully protected. But because of our bad manners as Ugandans, people go ahead and put their one. Those structures, you know, in statistics, you always have outliers, people who do things out of the law. Thank you very much.
Our PS, Director, all protocol observed. Good afternoon. My name is Victor Nahabwe from NEMA, and I'll respond to the issue of air pollution as raised by one of the journalists here. Air pollution, specifically in Kampala, being caused by the vehicular emissions or the emissions from vehicles and industries. We recently, just in this year, 2024, we launched the air quality regulations. Previously, we were working on draft and international standards or regulations, because Uganda, just being a member of other regional blocs, for example, we use the same standards, East African standards, but recently we have our own, and we are enforcing it, basing on the standards given in the regulations. And therefore, at the moment, we are planning to tackle this challenge with other partners and developers and the stakeholders, for example, the Ministry of Works and Transport, we've drawn an action plan on how we are going to have the stations, the vehicle inspection stations. You know, we had a challenge at first where it had some issues, but at the moment, government has cleared it, that the ministry can manage it right from the private entity who was owning those stations you see along all the exit roads in Kampala. So we are working with them to see how suitable they are to be able to help us to measure all the DMCs, all the vehicles in dangerous mechanical conditions, to be able to see whether they are suitable or causing the emissions which are against or above the permissible limits. So once that is done, we shall be able to address that issue to at least the minimal or expected emission levels. For the industries, NEMA has written to, or has sent out a communication to all the industries, giving them a time frame to install real-time data, air quality monitoring equipments or instruments, that the monitors that can really give us real-time data to analyze and be able to tell that at this time, this specific area, maybe Mukwano, around Mukwano industrial area, this is the levels of pollution, specifically looking at particulate matter. And so once we have that, we can always engage with the developers to make sure that we regulate or they minimize on their levels of emissions. But on the same note, we are also currently, we are having 14 air quality monitors across the country that give us, or we rely on to get the real data. And this is with the support from Makerere University Air Quality, the project. And we have 7 districts where we have these the stationed air quality monitors fixed. That is the Wakiso, Kaware, Fort Poto, Mubende, Rakai, Kasese, and Iganga. And of course, in the cities, we have Kampala, Jinja, Guru, Lira, and Masaka. So we rely on those fixed stationed air quality monitors, but we equally have mobile air quality monitors, which we use to monitor air quality, especially in the entities which we regulate, like industries. I thank you.
In line with noise pollution, we also have business advertisers. These ones who keep saying, customer we have street preachers. We have loud music being played in town, in park. Is it in line with the law?
That is noise. That's quite different from air quality. That is noise, but we equally, it's a function of the urban authorities as well. But we always come in if they emit or violate the standards, which is quite different from air quality. So we've, on several occasions, you must have seen us working together with the respective urban authorities to bring to order these noisemakers, especially, particularly the bars, not nightclubs, bars, and some few churches. And so we follow the due process to make sure that we bring them to order, but where they go extreme, then we go ahead and have them prosecuted. We have some specific success stories of such cases. The category of people you're talking about, the street preachers, or those people who advertise to, for example, if you intend to hold a public event, you write to NEMA seeking for guidelines to guide you on how to go about that, and we give some standards based on the regulations available to make sure that you are operating within the limits. If you go beyond, that means you will have violated the laws, and so action can be taken against you. But the challenge of the street people preaching and calling the advertising, the local arrangement of advertising, calling Jango Ngulekos, come and do what, it's still a challenge, but it's being managed by the urban authorities. I thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Patrick Seru, and I'm going to say something on regarding some queries mentioned on valley tanks. The Honorable Prime Minister, the Honorable Minister of Water has addressed a large chunk of this query. However, there was a mention of the issue of defilement at some of these facilities. We will say that this is unfortunate. Us as a ministry, we have been implementing a number of interventions designed to curb this issue. For example, you are having interventions on boreholes designed to minimize the distance that our ladies, children have to traverse to be able to access this water. And I think the same thing is happening for valley tanks, because we want to mitigate time spent in travel and therefore be able to enhance the security of our people. As a ministry, normally when we are implementing interventions, we have gender affirmative actions that are always designed to be inherent within these interventions. Obviously, some are abused, but you can take comfort that ministry is aware of this and is aggressively taking measures to ensure that this vice is curbed. There was a question, or there was a case of Zimbabwe where humans and livestock are sharing a water source. This is very much regulated, and I hope we'll have the people of in those areas reaching out to us to be able to support and remedy this situation. However, we also want to inform you that as a ministry, we are now implementing integrated infrastructure projects that are designed to address not just one use, but multiple use. So you'll find that we are constructing valley tanks for livestock watering, but we'll have a specific intervention to provide access to cleaner water within the communities. So we'll have a borehole somewhere closer to the communities to ensure that humans are not sharing water with the animals. There was something on subsidizing for water supply for farmers. Yes, this one we take note of it, and as a ministry we have been implementing interventions that have a bit of subsidizing on the part of the farmers. If you recall, in the presentation there was something on supporting individual farmers. This is a program where our ministry has acquired equipment and we are availing it to the communities, to the individual farmers at a subsidized price. So if there are people that need to have or to benefit from this, again, please reach out to our ministry to be able to support you on this. We have offices in Barada, we have offices in Lira, we have in Karamoja, Moroto, we have Mbale, and these are equipped with an equipment unit that is available at a subsidized price to support farmers, increase storage for water. Director, I think that's it on my part. I thank you.
So once again, let's put our hands together for the whole team from the Ministry of Water and Environment. Thank you so much. Our partners, the data has been availed. Please make sure that the citizens are able to appreciate this journey of our contract with them since 2021 and how far we have gone, especially in the area of water and environment. And like I had observed, I'm very happy with the report because it details even where these investments have been specifically placed, whether in a village or a parish or a sub-county or at a national level. This now should clear what I would call generalization or generalized comments. And I think in that way our citizens should be able to appreciate with specificity on where these investments exist and where there is need for further validation. We are all in public offices. They can approach us, they can approach the ministry for further clarification. At the moment, we no longer have questions, I'm sorry. But which question? The landslides. I had, like the PS mentioned something. Maybe let's handle that so that I don't open another frontline.
Yeah. I think I mentioned about the impacts of climate change, where we're getting irregular, at times very intense amount of rainfall. I also talked about encroachment on the environment that makes the impact of these adverse events more severe. And as a ministry, as government, right now in the L1 area, we have actually embarked on restoration, we have embarked on mitigation, and we are actually encouraging people to respect the nature and learn how to coexist. Government has also put in a program whereby those who are settled in really very vulnerable areas have been encouraged and they have been facilitated to relocate. And some of the vacated actually land, we are actually doing restoration already. So climate change is a factor, but human activities make these impacts worse. But it is not now to blame. What needs to be done, we have a team on the ground. And I think last month I was actually planting trees with them and doing restoration up there in the mountains. It is unfortunate, and some of these impacts also are not our own making as a country, because climate change impacts originate from mainly outside the country. The industrialization has created the global warming, but we do provide advisories. Every month, every 3 months, advisories are given, and the areas that are prone are specifically targeted. Meteorology has information that has been translated already into 35 languages that I really urge our people, when they get these advisories, let them take them seriously. But let us respect the environment. And certainly, on the insides where the inclination is more than, I think, 10 degrees is not recommended. And some of the worst affected people are actually people on that very, very steep slope. We rather leave them to be restored and protected. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I think now we are going to live on a clean slate where everybody's issues that have been raised have been responded to. So once again, allow me to thank you, PS, the representative of the minister and your team, for the engagement we have had here. We are now coming to the close of this session. I'm reliably informed that the afternoon session will not take off because the responsible minister is hosting the cultural event, which is in the east. So we will see how to reschedule that for next week. So I thought I would inform you so that you don't have to come back and wait, especially the partners we are together in this. But as we wind up the week, allow me to thank you, all of you who have been part of this activity. We are very impressed with the feedback, and like I said, some of you who are dealing with the links, all those comments that have been made, please print them down for us and bring them to us, because for us they are very, very useful in as far as validation of what has been said by the different entities of government is concerned. And if there are gaps, we definitely have to inform the relevant entities on the respective gaps that have been noted. If it is progress and satisfaction, we shall also inform the relevant authorities of government. So on that note, let me invite you, as we wind up, to raise for the anthems in a reverse order. Thank you.
So
Thank you. Have a blessed weekend, and we'll meet you next week. So, PS, representative of the minister, we'll invite you for a photo opportunity with your team.